everyone. Welcome to the June 2017 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, Town of Carmel. Everyone's names on the board are in front of you on the podium, and tonight with us is Town Council Greg Polchetti. The way we operate is we'll hear the cases in front of us. I'll swear whoever's going to be speaking on the application, I'll swear you in, and we'll only hear testimony from whoever's going to be speaking, and at a certain point we'll open it up to the public for any comments, concerns, or questions. I'll swear you in as well, and then once we close the cases and the case is closed, there's no further input from the public on any application. Will you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. All right, our first case tonight is Nuno Reese. It's number one, and they're looking for a variation of section 15615, seeking an area variance to build and install in-ground concrete pool. Properties located at 11 Glenida Boulevard. You are, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Nuno Reese. Address is 11 Glenida Boulevard in Maybach, New York.
All right, I'm going to remind everyone to try to speak into the microphone as best as possible. I'm guilty of it myself. We've got the fans running tonight, so
Okay.
And everything's being recorded. So, all right, let us know what you're seeking here. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me swear you in. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
So I'm looking for a variance for an in-ground pool. My property falls under a corner, so it's considered two front properties. And due to the septic tank behind the house and the lynch fields across the west side of the house, the area where the pool is proposed is the only really feasible area for the pool. The pool isn't that large. It's 12 foot by 16 foot and 6 inches. But that's the variance that I'm asking approval for.
Okay, I met you out there the other night too. I agree, you're tight with where your septic is, and there's no other alternate location to put it on the property. It doesn't look like, that side road's not a very highly traveled road as well.
That's correct.
From
It
your
only has
plans, which
three.
I commend you on submitting, it looks like you're gonna be well screened with fencing and evergreens and whatnot.
And landscape, yeah,
So I don't know
correct.
if anyone else had a chance to get out there to look at it. So I'll poll the board. Any questions or concerns?
What is the height of the fence you're putting up?
Whatever the code will be, I haven't ordered the fence yet, but whatever the code is.
The code is only 4 feet.
Oh, okay. I was thinking more 6 foot. The arborvitae are going to be about 8 foot. So,
Yeah, no, you gotta be you'd have to seek a variance for 6 feet, but.
Oh, okay.
its
Then if
frontage
it's
is
4
usually
foot,
4
then-
4 foot for
okay.
front fence.
then
So-
4 foot.
But the positive part for you is you have that upper,
The slope,
so if you put it at 4 feet, it may not be
Right.
an issue.
correct.
Plus,
Correct.
your arborvitae's are gonna be in board of that as well.
Yeah, they're 8 foot
Along that whole line.
along the side. That's
So-
correct.
On the outside of the fence.
Correct.
On the inside of the fence.
On the inside. Sorry, let me just take it. It'll be in the inside of the fence.
Inside.
Inside of the fence.
Okay.
No questions, thank you.
No questions, thank you. No questions.
All right, any input from the public on this application? I'll look for a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, you can stick around to the end of the night. I don't know how long of a night it's going to be, or you can call
I'll stick
in the
around
morning
for a while.
and speak
Okay,
to
thank you.
Rose or Dawn.
Thank you.
All right, application number 2 is Geis.
And I have to recuse myself for this one?
Okay, understood. I don't know if you realize a passing vote needs 4 votes, so you
know.
gotta be really convincing here.
I'll do my best.
So we're a little shy tonight.
I know.
All right, state your name and address for the record.
Name is Edward Geis. I live at 32 Lindy Drive, Carmel, New York.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, bring us through it.
Okay, I'm looking to build a second-story addition on my house. I've been living in that house for 36 years. The house is tired. I'm tired. And my wife wants some improvements. So I'm bowing to the pressure. so to speak. So at any rate, we're looking for a second-story addition. Unfortunately, when the house was built, I don't have 20 foot on each side. I have over a half acre of property, so I need 20 feet now. So I'm looking for a variance because I need 1.7 feet on one side and 1.1 feet on the other side in order to do the project.
And you're basically going straight up from
Yeah.
each side on the footprint that's existing, so.
Exactly.
You've checked with all your neighbors on side, no?
I did. No one
Issues,
has a
concerns?
problem. I do have a few letters of endorsements from some of my immediate neighbors. Unfortunately, a lot of people are on vacation. I could give that to you if you want.
Yeah, you can submit that for the record.
Okay.
All
I
right.
also put in the request to bring a gas line into the house so I could have gas heat and to be able to cook with it and to use the laundry facilities and to fix my deck, which was assaulted by a tree during a winter storm.
I think that happened to all of us.
Yeah, took out my fencing.
With your septic's in the back of the property?
I don't have septic anymore. I have sewer
Oh, it's sewer over there, okay.
and I have town water.
Okay, I mean, it looks like a nice plan, well-done architectural renderings. I don't think there's any concern about the look. So we'll start down here with questions from the board. Mike?
No, no questions for me.
No questions for me?
Both the house and the deck are staying on the existing footprint?
Yes.
No questions then.
So you're just redoing the deck in the same,
Yeah.
Same
Basically, it's just the
size.
railing on the deck that came down.
okay. All right, I'll look for the, any input from the public on this application. All right, I'll look for a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close?
Second,
Second.
Zilio, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, number 3, Alexandrian Group. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Randy Tharp. I'm with Epstein Architects and Engineers, and my address is 1124 Heavens Gate, Lake in the Hills, Illinois.
All right, you counsel?
No.
Sorry?
Oh, you're an architect, okay.
I'm an architect.
Raise your
Yes.
right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, thanks. So bring us through, I guess you need some parking variances.
Yes. Parking variance, Alexandrian Group is proposing the conversion of the property at 39 Seminary Hill Road, currently being utilized, originally the guidepost facility, office and printing facility, and currently being utilized as the Paladin Center, to convert that to a distillery operation with visitor center. The facility will be in production approximately 5 days a week, and with 24-hour operation during those periods of time, because of the way the distillery operation is a continuous operation. And then the visitors center will be open in 7 days a week, but likely only during daytime operation for that. As calculated by the zoning ordinance, the building as it sits right now is being reconfigured, or would be reconfigured. Many of the spaces that are currently used as office will be converted to light industrial use. Warehouse area will generally remain as warehouse. But by the calculations for the use of those spaces, new uses, and an addition for the visitor center, we're coming up with 133,000, almost 134,000 square feet of space, which calculates out by the use of those areas to requiring 327 parking spaces. The current state, the site in its current state has 311 spaces, but for some of the requirements by production, we need to put some exterior tanks outside the building, which for proximity to the building and the operations, as well as to allow some truck maneuvering area, we're eliminating basically 71 of those existing spaces. So we're requesting a variance to a number of 238 spaces, which is a reduction of 89 from the calculated number. And when we did the calculations, many of the spaces in the building that Alexandrian is going to use, while we're calling them light industrial, to some degree they're warehousing, and very much in general. We have an area called fermentation area, where we have a lot of large fermentation tanks that occupy 80% of the floor area for 17,000 square feet. So where the ordinance requires for that 17,000 square feet,
Before the calculation.
about 35 spaces, we really will have no people there at all in that area. So again, we took the conservative approach in terms of the calculation for making the request. The 311 spaces, I mentioned we have to reduce that 73 spaces in order because of the construction for the tank storage. Alexandrian's operations themselves will have 60 employees, of which a portion of those will be working on second shift and third shift. Probably only between 5 and 10, though, for those shifts. But generally, if you count 60 employees required, or parking spaces required for those employees during the day. And then we estimate that for the visitor center, they would probably have operating tours, would have groups of no more than 20 people. Probably tours would take about an hour, and you may have 3 groups of 20 at any one stage getting ready to go on a tour, in the tour, and finishing the tour, plus maybe another 20 or so people coming and going. So approximately 100, around 100 people maybe maximum for the visitor center.
And that's mostly on weekends, you said?
I'm sorry?
That's mostly on weekends, or is that 7 days a week?
It's all days. It will be available. Obviously, during weekdays, it's less likely to have 100 people there at one time in the middle of the day.
Right.
But that comes up with Alexandrian's requirements for what they really require for the operations as planned as about 160 spaces.
Okay.
So additionally, there may be events that might be held at the visitor center. But just taking an example of saying if there were 250 people at an event, say it was a corporate event for sponsoring something or doing something, or a banquet or something like that, assuming 250 people, if you had half of those people coming singly or in one car, you'd have 125 parking spaces required for them. The other half, at maximum, say 2 people per car, that's another 63. And then say a support staff for the event of 50 people, you come up with about another 238 people. So the 238 number, as is, that we're requesting works for all of the operations. Generally, during the normal operation of the facility without an event, we expect there's going to be probably 100 empty spaces not being utilized on the site as it sits today.
So it's mostly for when you have special events or...
It would only get, kind of maxed out and filled up during those special events.
Okay.
And obviously with the zoning ordinance, following that strictly would require us to provide additional parking. And while there is available area on the site for additional parking that we can provide, from a standpoint of Alexandrian looking at it, and also myself as a responsible architect, we've got enough parking lots in the world. We don't need any more that necessarily don't have a use or purpose. So in a way, by not providing these additional spaces, we're keeping and maintaining more green space. We're maintaining most of the site in the same character as it is. And we're actually, if we were to create new spaces, we'd be increasing stormwater runoff, heat island effect from the asphalt paving, have snow removal issues in the winter, all those kind of things that aren't necessarily on a positive standpoint from a neighborly perspective as well as environmental perspective.
All right, so the parking exists now.
The parking exists now. We're not creating any new spaces. We're using what's there. It's just the calculations. And I would say actually guideposts probably were underparked according to the zoning ordinance. I mean, with the amount of office space that's there, that office space requires 1 per 200 square feet. We're converting an awful lot of office space to light industrial. So on the total existing square footage of the building, probably they had a shortage of parking, I would have said,
Right.
on the basis of square footage. I don't know how many employees they had, but
Okay, so I understand you have a lease term that's in...
Sorry?
A lease term that's in play to take that property over, correct?
there is a purchase agreement for the site for Alexandrian to purchase purchase agreement with Hinckley Holdings, and there is a easement for utilizing
Okay, but that's not finalized, that's so,
Will, do you want to address this in terms of finalizing?
Hi, Willis
Good evening.
Stevens. I'm counsel to the owner of the property, Hinckley Holdings. There has been a draft perpetual easement that would be granted to Alexandrian, and it would be recorded once they take title of the property.
Okay.
But the actual document's been submitted to council. It's also been submitted to the building department. I believe they have it in their files. So
all right, so just bear that in mind when going through this tonight,
Okay.
board members. Thank you.
I mean, in general, we actually believe that by not meeting the zoning ordinance and having the variance for the reduced amount of parking, we're actually keeping and maintaining the status quo of the site and environment and impact on any neighboring properties.
Keeping it green. We'd like
Right.
that, keeping it green.
Yes,
Are you seeking any lead status for the construction of the site?
I'm sorry.
Any lead status?
We are not at this time. It's been discussed with the owner. There's, with production operations of a nature like this, a lot of times it's very challenging because they use a lot of energy.
Consumption, yeah.
So while some of those things aren't necessarily counted in lead, it is difficult sometimes from an energy standpoint of overall consumption because they will have a lot of they will have boilers that will heat a lot of water that are used for the fermentation as well as distillation process.
Okay.
But we're doing a lot of things, in all design these days, we do a lot of things that are
Yeah, it's
as
across the board.
environmentally sensitive as possible.
Makes sense. All right, Rose, any questions?
Mr. Stevens' property that he was referring to is that green section there, that they will have a perpetual easement? Is that the property that he was talking?
property is here. It's called Lot 3, and
Okay.
this designation, this is the portion that would have the easement, which is the existing parking that's currently constructed.
He doesn't want to just sell the parcel?
they have an option to buy it.
Oh, they have an option to buy. Okay. How many employees do you expect will be working at any given time?
Well, the maximum employees they expect here total at the facility is 60, but I would say the maximum they would have at any given time, given the second and third shift, is probably no more than 50
50 at any one time?
at
60
any one time.
60 total employees?
60 total, yeah.
I read in the papers there was about 400 employees.
Oh, the 400 employees that Alexandrian will employ will include some in an office in the city, and they will include salespeople all around the country.
Oh, so it's just 60 that will be
So
working in.
60 employees here, and probably maybe half a dozen or so that's part of the visitor center.
Okay. How often do you expect them to have special events?
Boy, that's that's a tough question
Where
for
we
me
could
to say.
have a massive.
I mean, I would say it's like they're not intending to run it as a banquet hall per se for a business, but I would say maybe in a time like this during the summer, you might expect one event every other weekend or something like that, possibly.
One event every weekend?
Yeah, every other, I would say, not necessarily.
They'll have,
It'll take a time to ramp any of that up because of.
would that be
the-
like tastings, like I don't know?
It could be
whiskey
a tasting as a
tasting or-
promotional event. It could be a corporate event that somebody wants to bring their employees or their top salespeople and say, hey, we're going to have a weekend up in Carmel and go to the distillery and have a nice dinner there that'll be catered in.
Or it
things
could be
like
a
that.
tasting for everyone?
Sure.
So you could have tons of people.
Well, I don't know if it would necessarily be completely open, everybody show up. I mean, very much so, most of the way the distilleries operate for their tours, most of them are prearranged, so you're purchasing tickets in advance for people to attend at a certain time slot for a
So it's
distillery
not a walk-in
tour.
condition?
I'm sorry?
It's not a walk-in type of situation?
Not typically for a lot of the
pre-planned.
distilleries. Most of them, they're selling tickets online. The larger ones down in Kentucky are all kind of by appointment only.
So it's different from a winery where people could go for a food and drink fest.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like that kind of thing. Okay. So if you were to have a massive event, do you have green space where people could park on the grass?
Yes, I mean, there are areas along here, along this road, this access road to the site. I'm not sure about access, I don't know if there's an access to the actually good vehicular access to the lacrosse field, but we would not be looking to really have an event where it gets beyond those limits.
Because I've been to like food truck
The
at
festival
wineries,
things,
like
I
festival.
know.
We're not talking about
No,
that kind of
no,
event.
No.
Okay.
no.
All right, no other questions.
I have no questions, thank you.
No questions.
No questions.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add before I open up to the public?
Nothing that I have to add. If there's any questions from the public or.
Okay. At this point, I'll open it up to the public for any questions or concerns.
Do you want me to read this?
Come on up.
We have
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
You read it.
I don't. Good evening. State your name and address for the record.
William Trabulsi, 20 Lindy Drive.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thanks.
So I don't know, is this a meeting strictly for the parking? Or can we,
Yes.
it is, so we don't want to kind of deviate from,
No, from what I understand, this would be going to
Site
to
plan,
the
right?
site plan review as well. Right. So usually it goes to the planning board. If there's anything that needs to be cleaned up zoning-wise, they'll deny it, send it to us, which is where, the point we're at right
Right
now.
now.
So this will go back to the planning board.
and will
Or
there be a
review.
public hearing
Most certainly. It's advertised just like how this meeting is.
historically? Was there? Okay, so I guess I do have a question on, as far as egress and into the facility and out of the facility, does that occur on Route 6 or does that occur on 52?
That I don't know the answer. We can refer to the consultant. If you just address the board, though, please.
Because okay.
The egress from an operational standpoint, primarily truck traffic, everything else is coming from 6. And coming up, there's an easement
That hill.
that's been granted across.
The hill next to the bike path.
There's an easement that is, there's all the access easements to the property.
Not that. Front drive. Right.
There is an easement from 6 through what's called parcel 3. From lot 3, that provides access up to
Just
the
so
lot
that
here.
it's more accurate, Lot 1 owns half of that.
Guys, do me a favor. You got to speak into the microphone because it's being
Lot
recorded.
1, which is the lot that we're talking about here, owns half of that road that comes up from Route 6.
So that's
They
part of the
have-
easement as
And
well.
they share the access easement with Lot 3.
Okay.
So it actually has frontage on Route 6. And the road that is currently in existence from Route 6 would be the truck traffic entrance. Visitor entrance could very well be off of Seminary Hill Road.
So to get to your question, if there is an event, so we're talking there.
In the mic,
In
please.
Mike.
Speak into the mic. It's
So if there was an event, there could be a substantial amount of people coming up Seminary Hill Road, which in fact already is an overloaded road if you guys are familiar with it, because you've got the housing at the beginning of it, you have got the senior housing shortly after that, you will have this after that, you go up a couple of more houses, let's give some residents their due, they have a house there, and then you've got Arms Acres, okay? So you've got a number of vehicles going up that road to begin with. To include or bring this into addition, with Paladin, we already saw it, okay? There was a number of vehicles, more vehicles than we were used to, okay? Introduce something, now, don't get me wrong, I think it's great, I think this is great, I really do. I don't think the selected spot is the best avenue, but again, that may go back to here. So my concern tonight would be, do we have the capacity to handle the influx of people coming to this facility?
I would say, I mean, this was once guidepost back in the day, and you had.
But there was half of what's on that road today. Okay, so you're,
Well,
you're.
that's true,
you're-
but it's
I
the-
mean,
just the
it's-
nature of
that's-
development in.
That's not apples to apples. You can't say that. That's by far, it's not apples to
I
apples.
think your concern's really meant for the planning board.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
So if
This
I'm
is just
speaking
about
at a-
parking spaces
This is parking.
for the facility.
Okay, so the building that you're referring to is the building that's up on the top of the hill that you want to take out, which is closer to that neighbor over there. So there will be more.
Nothing's taking out, we're just going into.
You're just going into it. Okay. So I'm concerned about our residents on that. Of
course.
I really, I mean, I don't even live on that road, but I'm concerned about the residents. And I think we're a little short-sighted in creating something like this to be in that.
I'll definitely try to make it
But
to the planning board.
I will have to
and-
address the planning board
Yeah.
on that, okay. Just curious, is there gonna be a light on Route 6? Where the driveway is? For the trucks to be turning in?
There will only be about 5 trucks a day.
It's only 5 trucks a day, and that's mandatory. There'll be no other trucks coming in off Seminary?
How about they do
Is that
this
that's
out in the
mandatory?
hallway?
Okay,
It's fine.
okay, that's all I have then.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to be heard on this application? All right, I'll look for a motion. Oh,
We got 2 of these.
I guess we received a letter today. I might as well read it because they couldn't make it here. To whom it may concern, I'm unable to attend the zoning board of appeals meeting scheduled for Thursday, but wanted to express my concerns regarding the planned distillery. As a 20-plus year Seminary Hill Road resident, and I'm sorry, this is from Nina Walters. I have some questions regarding the traffic impact of Alexandrian Group building a distillery at 39 Seminary Hill Road. Seminary Hill Road is a high-traffic road with Arms Acres and Camarda Park located further up, and the building of the 55-plus housing units on Mechanic Street. Drivers typically drive faster than the 30-mile-per-hour posted speed limit, and accidents occur on a regular basis, specifically at Church and Seminary Hill Road, which is a 4-way stop. With the addition of the distillery and the increased traffic entering and leaving the facility, what are the plans to ensure less accidents occur, not more? Will there be a traffic light installed? In addition, Seminary Hill Road is also popular with cyclists and runners. On any sunny day, there are many cyclists and runners taking up the challenge of the hill. What precautions will be taken to ensure our cyclists and runners will continue to be able to use Seminary Hill Road and increase their fitness? Thank you for your time, Nina Walters. So again, that's a planning board issue, and she certainly can try to make it to that meeting as well.
Can I just ask something of Greg? When there's a special event that happens, don't they have to get approvals from Mike Carnazza? Don't they, when there's a big event going on, don't they have to have some kind of
Permit?
permit? Yeah. They can't max out, they can't say you can only have X amount of people at this event? No? Okay.
All right, and then, you know, to allay this person's concerns, they can always call the police department for more traffic enforcement and, you know, fines or what have you from an enforcement standpoint, so. Correct. Yeah, that's something that the planning board can consider, maybe some kind of lit-up signage, you know, speed signage or what have you, but that's not under our purview. Okay, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, guys. All right, finally, this evening, sorry, is number 4, DL Ford, and they're looking for a variation of section 15615, seeking an area variance to expand existing daycare. The property is located at 854 Route 6, Mahopac, New York. All right. Joel, representing? State your name and address for the record.
Joel Greenberg, 2 Musket Road, North Mahopac.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Joel, tonight's kind of tough with the fans, so try to speak into the microphone a little better.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
As you stated in the opening remarks, the request here is for 2 variances. One is to expand the daycare in the building, and the other is a minor variance so that we can have a handicap ramp, which I'll show you in a second. But to go to the main part is, as you know, daycare has become obviously very, very important in our community. And Lori Ford has done some research and is finding that there is a need to expand her operation because the volume of requests to have their children being brought to this facility is growing and growing. The space that she wants to use, which I'll show you in a second on the floor plan, has been vacant for approximately 8 years, so that the space is there. We've discussed it. Excuse me. We've discussed this with the building department. It'll be totally ADA accessible, and again, I will show you in a second just why we have to have the area variance. Excuse me. The dark area is the building itself. Right now, there is exits from the second floor. As you can see, the hatched area is where there's a stair. The whole idea is to have this second floor completely ADA accessible. So what we have to have is a switchback. So you're coming out here, a ramp this way, a ramp this way, and a ramp this way. The area over here in the property next door, the building is quite far from that, and I have a picture which I'll show you. This is all fully landscaped and fully screened, so that even though the existing staircase is about 6 feet from the property line, the new one would be 3 feet from the property line, will not affect anyone's view or any situation with the building next door. This area, this drawing here shows you the floor plan. Excuse me. This is the existing first floor, which is used completely by the daycare center. The existing second floor, this half facing toward Route 6, is rented for various office space, and this is the space that's been vacant in the back here for many, many years. And this is the space where the daycare will be expanded, and here you can see how the handicap ramps will be accessible. We're providing, obviously, handicap facilities for the toilet, and I think it's something that the community needs. The operation has been there for many, many years, and if you know the area, or if you have friends, or if you have your own children that have gone there, it is exemplary as far as the way it's run and the property itself. As I'm sure you've been over to the site, is kept immaculate and will basically stay the same, except instead of vacant space upstairs, we'll have additional daycare. And if there's any questions, I'll answer them.
So basically, the decision back a few years was...
Right. We're asking for basically for taking one section out of the decision back July 4th, 2003, which at that time, when she was going for the daycare, the board at that time said daycare only on the first floor. And at that time, back in '03, the upstairs was rented, so there was no problem. But now, again, the need for daycare between 2003 and 2018 is going exponentially, so that there's a need for it.
We understand that, but I think there were safety concerns in reading the minutes that, you know, how do you plan on alleviating those safety concerns? Egress, fires, or sprinkler?
Good question. I'll show you. This is Route 6. This is the parking lot along the building over here. There'll be several ways for, if God forbid there is an emergency. There is an entrance facing the parking lot over here, so that access will be here. So that's actually, the requirement is for two means of egress. We're going to have 3. So we have one coming out the front toward the parking lot, We have a second set of stairs going down to the first floor, exiting out toward the parking lot. And most importantly, we have the ADA ramp in the back. Now, Lori has already contacted Joe Romano, who is the state representative who comes down to check all of the daycare centers to make sure they meet all the state codes. She has walked through the space with him, and based on the drawing that we have here with the 3 means of egress, Joe says there's basically no problem. All we need is to eliminate that section of the old DNO so that we can use the space upstairs. But there, as I said, requirement is 2, we have 3. And the other thing too is they're all remote. So if God forbid something happens here, there's always a way to get out.
And then, is there an age restriction for the children that are planned to be upstairs? Like, are you gonna have the older children for,
The older children will be upstairs.
and what age group is that?
4 to 5-year-olds, and also there'll be 2 spaces here, one for 4 and 5-year-olds, and one for after school. So the babies will be downstairs. The older ones who can obviously walk and run will
Right.
be upstairs.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Is that all you have for your presentation?
Yeah, as I said, any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay.
Joel, what does the state say about second-floor daycare centers?
Well, if you go around Mayapack, you'll find that most of the daycare centers are 2 stories. And as I said, Mr. Romano, who is the state representative for daycare centers, has to inspect every site before we even come before any boards. So that's why before we came to the planning board and then referred to this board, Mr. Romano came down. We walked through the space with him, showed him the 2 existing means of ingress, and the third one, which is going to be ADA, ADA approachable. And he said, based on that, you're required to have 2. You have 3. You're better off.
He doesn't think that you need a second egress for handicap?
No, the state code only requires 1.
Only requires 1?
Yes,
And there'll be 2 classrooms upstairs?
just 2. Yes.
Okay. No plans on putting an elevator in?
Again, if the state requires it, we do it. But there is no. I spoke to Mike Carnazza and we spoke to Mr. Romano. There is no requirement for that. Plus the fact, in case of emergency, you're not supposed to use the elevator.
Use the elevator.
What is the ramp going to be made of? Wood? Is it a wooden?
It'll be steel railings, excuse me, and not hardy board, a Trex type.
Trex, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be a
I'm
permanent.
just thinking in the wintertime.
No, if it's Trex, it's not perfectly smooth,
textured.
so it will be approachable and shovelable.
Okay. That's it.
That, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No questions, thanks.
That inner stairwell, is that a rated and
Yes.
fire enclosed stairwell,
Yes,
5/8 sheet rock,
We
and
inspected before, CO was given.
rated doors and all that stuff?
Yeah, yes, it will.
And is it a sprinklered building? Fire sprinkler?
There are no sprinklers in. Again, discussed with Mr. Romano, and he said it was not a requirement.
Try to speak into the mic, Joel, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, we discussed this with Mr. Romano, and he indicated that in this particular case it was not required.
But is there a need for like additional, more than the normal amount of smoke detectors and,
Oh, yes.
Fire alarm
He did
system.
indicate that, and there's a requirement of certain, 1 smoke detector and CO detector for every certain, I think it's 150 square feet, so we'll have more than enough.
and is there like a central station alarm system?
Yes,
that's
oh,
part of-
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so it's always monitored.
Yes, it will be.
What kind of materials are proposed, like more fire retardant type of
Yes, oh,
materials?
yes, all fire retardant.
Carpeting and
Yes,
VCT
all-
flooring?
all have rated, they
linoleum?
will all be rated, and obviously, the specs will be reviewed by Mr. Carnazza before we order them.
Does this also get reviewed by the Child Care Council before
It gets reviewed by the state,
state?
yes,
Okay.
state agency. And just so you know that I've done several daycare centers in the area, and let me tell you something. When Mr. Romano comes down there, he has that magnifying glass. He's looking at every piece of material, all the finishes, making
course.
sure that there is adequate amount of sinks in all the classrooms for washing, obviously toilets and so on and so forth. So he's been around, he's been working in the state since I've been a long, long time, and he knows his stuff.
Safety and sanitary.
Exactly, S&S.
Joel, what's the space on the top floor going to be used for specifically? Because I'm reading our town code and I'm reading the last decision, and I don't see anything changing. So I'm just curious what the second floor is being used for.
The second floor?
Yeah.
I just told you, we have the 4 and 5-year-olds and the,
Right,
and the school children.
I'm gonna quote the code here, and this is, and, you know, I'm looking at the DO from back then. Planned or instruction space within the building shall be located on the first floor only and contain at least 35 square feet of area for each child, exclusive of cloakrooms, and so on and so forth. No play or instructional area shall be below grade. Really, it's the first sentence. Play and instructional space shall be located in the first floor only.
Well,
And that
again,
was the finding of the last board, and that's where I'm a little bit concerned. What are we doing?
All I can say is that, I don't know, there's several daycare centers, and I can tell you exactly where they are, which all have 2 floors.
I don't care about the
And
other
they're-
ones. I
and-
care about this case because there's a
let-
decision here
can I
that you're
finish?
looking us to amend,
Finish.
Joel.
These are daycare centers that were done within recent times. These are not daycare centers that go back to the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Understood.
So it has been done, it's been approved, it's been approved by the state, it's been approved by the building department. Building permits and COs were granted, and we're gonna go through the same process.
Okay,
And that's why we're here.
okay.
So the new daycare center up on Lake Lenida, is that a second-story facility for children?
I'm not familiar with that.
You're not familiar.
We're on like,
I forget the name of it. Littlefield.
oh, the one, yes.
Little feet.
Yes, that is 2 stories. You're right. And that building is what, maybe 4 or 5 years old? No, yeah, and you're absolutely right. There's another one. And there's Pine Grove.
So they use the second floor for children?
Yes,
For-
there's Pine Grove over on Myrtle Avenue, and also the one on Route 6, Kitty Connection. I mean, every one of them that's there has 2 stories.
Second
And it's,
story.
again, it's
Did they
approved.
obtain variances?
Pardon?
Did they obtain
I
variances?
did not do them. I did ones out of the
Might
town
be
of Cromwell.
worthwhile to go look at the building department records to see what's
Well,
there.
I would assume that Mike Carnazza would not grant it if it was not approved.
I
think
don't recall hearing any of those cases.
No.
Do you?
No?
You guys have the longest tenure, you would know.
No,
I don't remember hearing any cases. Greg?
Well, all I can tell you is they are approved by the state, they have building permits, they have COs, and we're going through the same process, and we're just trying to provide a need for the community. And it's if you
have to
see-
agree, Mike is, you know,
He's-
a good building code enforcement officer,
Yes.
especially when it comes to children. So I would be more than sure that he would be
Ocean's
conscious
here.
of that to present it to us if it went against.
Could that be office space on the second floor of all those places? Are we
No,
sure
the
that
other ones I
it's
mentioned are
childcare?
all, in fact, there's just childcare in those places that we just discussed. Pine Grove, what's the one on Route 6? Oh, right, and that's right. It's inspected, that's right, I forgot that, she's right. It's inspected by the town, by the state, so there's so many reviews and inspections to make sure that this thing is totally safe.
Okay.
No more questions for me. Nope.
All right. Anything further, Joel?
Nope.
All right. At this point,
No.
I'll open it up to the public. Unless you want to come up and speak, Lori, I'll swear you in if you have anything to say.
Oh, well, what do you want to say?
Come up, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Lori Ford, the owner and director of Kids Country and D&O.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
So help me God. All right. I'm just saying that basically back in the day when I first opened up, which is 2003,
Right.
crazy, so many years went by already. Basically what happened is they put something on the buildings. We were just opening up the building and turning it over to daycare plus multiple purpose. And at that time, the zoning board didn't have any second floor daycare centers. So they put that little catch into that with the zoning. And since then, everything has blossomed in town. And what I mean by that is since then, 7 or 8 different daycare centers have opened up. They all have 2 floors. They all have means of egress, second egress. We have been under the rules and regulations of the state, which is much more than Michael and the town of Cornwall. We have actually have every single year COs, and they have a fire inspector that comes in. They have the CO. They look at every single door in means of egress. They look at everything, and then on top of it, the state comes in. I cannot get licensed without having everything fully operable as far as ramps, fire alarms, means of egress, push bars out, push bars in, push out, everything. It's very hard to open up a daycare center and keep it going every single year with the rules that are always changing, and we've always been up to date on it. There is nothing that I'm asking for this that hasn't been done before and all through the whole area. There's really not. I have the playground, I have the parking, I have the space. It's usable space. It's really good. You're only talking a few children. There'll probably be a 4 to 5-year-old class, which is a preschool class, in one room, which is over there. And then the school age would be 15 kids. So it's not like I'm asking for 100. You know, there are only a limited number per square footage that you're allowed to get. As far as a handicap, the same space is available on the first floor that's actually available on the second floor. So therefore, I actually have 2 handicap accessibilities. I have the first floor that can be used for 4 and 5-year-olds and school age. And then if there's any additional, I have the second floor. But my main priority is to have all the handicap on the first floor at all times, because it's usable space for that. Okay? You're only talking 182 days a year. I'm not open for summer camp. You're only talking school days from September to June, pretty much. And it's only an hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half or so in the afternoon. Most of the children are picked up. They're delivered by 4 o'clock. They're picked up by 5:30. 4, 5:30, 6. We're only open to 6:30 in the evening. So you're only talking a small amount of times between each one. And it is highly regulated, and we have passed everything. So,
I can attest to the inspections. My wife does daycare out of the house, and the state does come, and they mark you up for any little infraction that
They
you
do.
may have missed or what have you, so.
spot check and everything, as you know. I mean, it's just, and as well as they should. I've never objected to that. But this is really space that's been vacant for a long time. It's actually been storage space on the building, and we're looking to use it for the school age and the excessive of 4s. And nothing under 4 years old, so they walk, they can do everything. There's no problem with it. And there is the first floor and the second floor for handicap, in case anybody needs it. So,
Okay.
if there's any other questions, it really is a drop-in. There's no cars coming along. They get dropped off by the school bus, and they get picked up on valet pretty much. 5 minutes. You know, the parents, in and out. They don't even get out of the car. But that's the way of the future. That's what they do. So there really isn't crowds of all different times coming in and out.
And the side yard variance is exclusively for the ramp itself?
Yes.
It's not for play area?
Oh, no,
or-
no, no, no.
Just
no,
for the ramp.
absolutely no.
Okay, anybody else from the public wish to be heard? All right, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
You guys want to go straight through? We take a break.
Straight through.
Right there.
Good, straight through? All right, at this point, there's no input from the public on any application as we adjudicate. All right, for application number 1, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant?
Do I have a second?
Can I amend that? Just, he put it on the plan, so I just want to make sure that the arborvitae's there. I just want to make sure the screening's there. I would like to, as part of the motion. It's up to you guys, but that's the way I think.
Yeah, I think it's smart to have it in the DNO, so.
Motion to grant with the condition that arborvitae's are included as stipulated on the plan.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I want the landscaping around it,
They presented in their plans, but it's not written as such, so it's
Right.
better to have it in writing.
I'd rather have it in the DNO. You did the original second, Phil, so.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's granted. All right, number 2, guys, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, granted. All right, number 3, Alexandrian Group, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Well, I think,
Aye.
Oh.
I think it should be contingent upon,
Oh, right,
approval.
right, sorry.
I'm sorry, yes, to add to that motion that contingent upon easement.
Thank you.
In a form acceptable to town council.
Perpetual easement.
Right. Right.
And that it be recorded.
So amended.
Actually, Greg, speak up because you don't have a mic,
Yeah, you-
just so she picks it up.
The motion to grant is conditioned upon,
The perpetual easement.
preservation of the easement for the proposed parking, on accepting the town council, and to be incorporated in the
So motion to grant as amended. Adopted.
All right,
Second.
do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, granted. Sorry. Gotta put my legal hat on, buddy. All right, and finally, application 4 for D&L Ford. Do I have a motion?
Motion to grant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And that's based on all the conditions that they're looking for. That's the 22-foot variance and to amend the D&O
Correct.
dated 7/24. Okay. Any discussion?
No, I got my point across, and I'm fine with everything.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion granted. Minutes from May 24th, 2018. Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe 4th of July, and enjoy the summer. Good night, everyone.